first, I normally take a starter, and it hasn't been fed in a little while, so there might be some liquid on top. Totally normal. You can just stir that in to it until it becomes kind of one consistency. Alright, and this is 100% hydrated starter, so it's equal parts flour and water. At this point, zero out the scale. Depending on the flavor you're going for, how much you feed it can affect it, because the more fresh flour that's in there, the less of the bacteria and everything else that's in the starter that will kind of come through. So that's 227. And to feed this, I need to get up to a total of 454. So that means I need to take 227 divided by 2, and then basically do that part's flour and water. So that's roughly 113 grams of each. So I'm going to zero this out again. Take our bread flour. Just dump some in until we get to about 113. All right. Zero again. Close enough. All right. Next step is you want to stir in this flour and water to incorporate it with the starter that you put in there. Alright, so should be pretty much good to go. The next point is you want this to essentially double in volume and look really frothy and bubbly on the surface. Right now it's pretty flat and everything, but once the yeast start waking up and they start eating some of the sugars and stuff in the flour, they're going to create CO2, and that's what's going to make the frothiness and bubbliness happen. So easiest way to do this is, one, put it in a clear container, and then I'm just going to take a dry erase marker, mark right about here, and then once I see it's, maybe up to here, so I know it's doubled in volume and ready to go. So the leaven or starter is almost doubled in volume. So now we're going to hydrate our dough. This is called autolyzing, but this is a fake one because it has salt in it too. So our recipe calls for 602 grams of this bread flour. So I've got my scale here. I'm gonna dump in until I get to 602. Alright. Then we want 100 grams of whole wheat flour. Alright. 3 teaspoons of salt. First, actually, let's kind of stir this around. The flour's mixed together. All right. 140 grams water. This should put the dough at roughly 60-something % hydration, and when the starter gets added in, it will be slightly over 70% hydration. The easiest way I've found to do this part, because it's kind of a mess, is just take your fingertips, kind of stir it around until it gets kind of shaggy in there. Try and hydrate the flour so it's just easier to work with once you put the starter and everything else in. So point, it's going to look pretty dry, but once you add the starter in, it gets pretty sticky. So it's just basically a shaggy kind of ball. We're going to let this rest for about 30 minutes, and after that we can work in our starter and start kneading it and then letting it ferment a little bit. We're about doubled in volume. You can see from the mark there. The bubbles on the side are a good indicator too. That means it's pretty active. On the surface too, sometimes it'll be a lot more bubbly than this. It could probably go a little bit longer before using it, but it should be fine to put into the hydrated dough over here at this point. All right, the hydrated dough has been resting about 30 or 40 minutes, I'd say. This, like I said, is a fake autolyse process. It should be hydrated now. So next, we're going to add in our starter to this and kind of mix it in. So I normally start by trying to dimple this up a little bit. It's a little bit sticky, so I'm gonna dip my hand in some water here. Keep it from sticking to me as much. All right, put it on the scale, and we need 454 grams of fed starter for this. So take this guy, doubled in volume about. Just gonna pour it in there till we get to 454 grams. Should be pretty much all of it. This is also a pretty sticky process here, so take my hand, get kind of wet here. Then we're just gonna poke our fingers and get some of the starter down into the other dough here first. I'd like to take it from an edge, kind of fold it over on itself a little bit. Like I said, this part is pretty sticky, so it's going to take some doing to get it in and incorporate as much as we need it to be. So just be patient, it will come together. You just have to work at it for a while. One trick to get some more gluten in there is to hold the bowl like this. And what makes that sound, you know you're doing it right. And this is just developing gluten and also incorporating the starter into the dough we had hydrated earlier. So just trying to get everything as close together as we can. You don't want any sticking, not any, but you don't want much sticking to the bowl at this point. Sometimes I'll swipe my fingers around the side of the bowl just to get some that off of there. Get it more in the center. Also mix in a little bit quicker. All right, now for the fun part. We're going to start kneading the dough. I'm going to take some sides here. Let's try and get as much out as we can. So turn it out on the surface. And it's going to seem like this might never work, but it will come together. So kind of pull it up like a baby, slap it down, roll it over. So pull it, stretch it, fold it over on itself, pick it up from the sides. Just repeat this. Oh, probably about 5-10 minutes. Depends how fast you are with it until it all comes into one piece. Fold over, you lift it up and turn it 90 degrees, kind of fling it down, throw it over on itself, lift up again, 90 degrees. So early on, it'll look kind of like it's ripping all over the surface. That's usually the gluten, I guess, strands or whatever aren't strong enough, so when you're pulling it, it's tearing it apart. We want it to be pretty much smooth at this point, once it's fully done being kneaded. Right now, this is what it should look like. Alright. Alright. At this point, you can see it's a little bit kind of craggy on there, but overall, it's getting a lot smoother, so we are almost there. We are pretty much there at this point. It's nice and smooth on the surface. You might see a little bit of tearing there, but that's fine. We're going to do more folds, so that should help with more gluten production and everything. So at this point, we're just going to transfer it back to the bowl we had it resting in, and we'll do all our folds inside that bowl. This is going to be our first set of folds. So after you've had the dough resting for about 15 minutes, you'll want to uncover it and then get your hands kind of wet. We're just basically going to stretch the dough and fold it on itself until we get all the way around it here. So getting your hands wet just helps it not stick. I like to kind of break it free from all sides first. Alright, so that's pretty loose. More water on here. We're gonna lift it up till it almost breaks. Put it over on itself, kind of tuck it in. Just rotate the bowl. Lift it up again. And you don't want it to tear, you want it to almost tear. Go to this side. There. Stretching again. Looks good. And when your hands get a little sticky, just put a little more water on it. Should be fine. Alright. We got probably one more to do. And we are good. And then we're going to let it rest another 15 minutes. And then we do folds, and we're going to repeat this 4 times. So that's our first set of folds. Just going to kind of tamp everything down. There we go. We're going to lightly flour the surface, and we're going to shape our dough. At this stage, it should be kind of wobbly, jiggly. You might see some air bubbles on the side. And I'm just going to take my hand and get it a little wet and loosen it up so it releases from the bowl a little bit easier. Alright, just coming out. You kind of want to divide the dough in 2 for shaping, so you just eyeball it. If you handle it too much, it's pretty sticky at this point, so it's just going to be all over your hands. So if you want to be precise, you could weigh it out and try that, but I don't think it matters too much. If you make a line of flour, it makes the cutting to divide it a little bit easier as well. And this is where a bench scraper comes in pretty handy too. So I'm going to just eyeball it. Here should be good. So we should be cut all the way through. And this stage, we're going to form it into kind of tight rounds. If it sticks to that, you can put a little water on your bench scraper. Just get it to release a little bit easier. And this is just pre-shaping, so I'm going to let them kind of hang out. I'm going to put some flour on top of them to keep them from sticking, and I'm going to lightly cover them for about 10 minutes or so for it to relax, and then we will make the actual shapes. We are shaping this dough. Put some flour on top. You don't want too much on the surface around there because you need the bottom to be kind of sticky for it to kind of hold its shape a little bit better. Alright, here's where a bench scraper comes in handy. You kind of have to just be brave and confident in this point and go for it. So you're going to scoop from under, like loosen it up a little bit. Dig on all sides first. Then I'm going to take my hand, do it like this, put it over on this floured side, back down on the surface. So I'm going to scoop up and over. It's perfect. And then I like to take this part, stretch it out a little bit, put it towards the middle. Take the side over here, stretch again right about there. Other side, put him on top. Press down lightly, you don't want to do too hard and knock out all the air from there. And this last part, stretch him out, and we want to go all the way over. Down. Now we can use a bench scraper to hopefully seal this in there. Alright, one shaped. We will use this one. Put this side facing into here. So go 1, 2, and then in. Something looks roughly like that. I may pinch it together along the seam here just to kind of make sure it stays nice and tight, expands the way I want it to. Get them to release from all sides. I'm gonna wet this down again because it's got a little bit stuck. Dry enough. Alright. We'll just shape it the same way. So take this, go to about the middle. This guy over to the middle again. This guy, stretch him out a little bit. To the middle. This guy. Shape these pretty tight. Just helps with making sure they don't flatten out to keep nice shape when they bake, or else they'll be kind of flat-ish. Alright. Second banneton here, same as before. I'm gonna wet this down just a little bit. Don't get sticky. Your hand dry. 1, 2. There you go. Alright. See how wobbly it is? Pretty aerated already. That's a good sign. check our other guy. He's been resting a little bit. He's got a nice little wobble too. So next, these are going to ferment or proof for a pretty long time. So we just kind of let them do their things until they're about doubled in size. You don't want to overproof it because it could collapse. You don't want to underproof it because it's just going to be really dense. So kind of going to use your judgment. It should look really aerated and even more wobbly than this when they're ready. So we'll see them in a couple hours. Depends on the temperature of your kitchen. Can be 2 hours, could be 3. You know, it's how active the starter was can also play a factor in it. So there's a lot of variables, but for the most part, just use your eyes and your judgment. Even if it's under or overproofed a little bit, it's still going to taste great. Then go about 45 degrees and about a ½ inch score all along the side here. Get a little deeper right there. Should look something about like that. All right, and throw her in there. And it's looking really good. Shay, watch out. Alright, this loaf's been in 25 minutes with the lid on, so same thing. Gonna open it up. There's a dog. Gonna take the lid off and then do another 20, maybe 25 minutes. Just check it, basically. Yep, looks pretty good. Maybe not scored quite deep enough, but it'll be okay.